Fruit money will soon go directly to mainland bank accounts of Hong Kong retirees living across the border. Seng Index dives to its lowest level in more than 2 months, with tech firms as big decliners. And Japan's Sanae Takaichi says Tokyo's stance remains consistent despite Beijing's repeated calls for her retraction on Taiwan remarks. Good evening, you're watching Cable News. I'm Quentin Yang. Starting mid-next year, Hong Kong seniors retiring in mainland will have the option to receive their social welfare allowances directly into their mainland bank accounts. This follows a new memorandum of understanding signed by the Social Welfare Department. Jeremy Zhu has more.
The agreement was formalized with Bank of China and Industrial and Commercial Bank of China Asia, witnessed by Secretary for Labor and Welfare Chris Sun, paving the way for cross-border disbursement of portable cash assistance. Speaking at the signing ceremony, Sun described the new initiative as completing the final mile of service, stating that while the existing process may seem smooth, the most straightforward and convenient solution is to deposit funds directly into a recipient's mainland account. Currently, these individuals must have their benefits paid into a Hong Kong bank account, requiring them to make a separate cross-border transfer or use their local bank card to withdraw cash in mainland. The change will assist over 30,000 eligible seniors retiring in Guangdong and Fujian, who receive certain government allowances like comprehensive social security assistance, old age living allowance, and old age allowance, commonly known as fruit money. Jeremy Zhu, Cable News.
Shares in Hong Kong tumbled again on a waning outlook for a near-term rate cut, with the benchmark index retreating to below the 100-day moving average and seeing the lowest closing level in more than 2 months. Technology stocks saw a major sell-off. Jamie Liu reports.
Following Wall Street's retreat, Asian shares extended a rout and Hong Kong stocks were no exception. The Seng Index plunged 615 points to end at 25,220, the lowest in more than 2 months, with turnover at $285 billion. For the week, the gauge plummeted 1,352 points, the largest weekly decline in 7 months. Technology firms led the losses. Chinese e-commerce giant Alibaba slid over 4%, pushing the gauge down over 100 points. Internet service company Baidu was down $6.60. JD.com and Meituan both fell 3%. Link Real Estate Investment Trust plummeted over 7%. Mainland battery maker CATL continued to suffer losses of over 3% after its shares were freed up as their lockup period expired following the company's mega listing in May. Jamie Liu, Cable News.
Seng Index announced its latest quarterly review after the market close, with mainland's biopharmaceutical company Innovent Biologics joining the benchmark index next month. Innovent Biologics would be added to the gauge after the market closes on December 5th, taking the tally to 89 constituents from 88, as the city stock benchmark compiler steadily raises the number of constituents to 100. No companies would be dropped, the compiler said. Innovent will also join the China Enterprises Index, alongside Hongqiao and Yum China, while ENN Energy, Haidilao, and New Oriental Education will be removed. Meanwhile, the technology index will welcome electric car maker Leapmotor and Farewell Singapore's ASMPT. The Immigration Department has arrested 34 people in a major crackdown on illegal workers, including a significant number of former foreign domestic helpers who had overstayed their visas and vanished into the black market economy. Jeremy Zhu reports.
The operation, which began Tuesday, saw investigators raid multiple locations, including restaurants and commercial buildings, arresting 24 suspected illegal workers. Among them, 13 were overstaying former foreign domestic helpers, primarily of Indonesian nationality. 10 were on visitor status not permitted to work, and 1 mainland overstayer. The authority said many of the ex-helpers refused to leave Hong Kong after their contracts ended, while others vanished just before their contracts began. They subsequently took underground jobs as dishwashers, cleaners, and kitchen helpers, earning daily wages of $300 to $500. The 8 employers, all Hong Kong residents aged 27 to 64, face prosecution for hiring illegal labor. The department underscored the severity of the offense, noting that convicted employers can face up to 10 years in prison and fines of $500,000. Jeremy Zhu, Cable News.
2 construction workers have been arrested and charged with manslaughter over a fatal industrial accident last year at a high-tech building site, following a police reclassification of the case. The 2 men, a 48-year-old scaffolding foreman and a 58-year-old scaffolder, were arrested on Thursday. They have been jointly charged with 2 counts of manslaughter and appeared in Kwun Tong Magistrates Courts today. The charges stem from a tragic incident last February, when a large section of scaffolding suddenly gave way at the Panel Harbor construction site in Xingfu Lane. The collapse killed 2 female workers, aged 68 and 54, and injured 3 others. Initially treated as an industrial incident, the case was upgraded to manslaughter after a nearly 2-year-long investigation by the Kowloon East Regional Crime Unit. Their probe remains ongoing as legal proceedings get underway. The 2 accused were each granted bail of $300,000 today, and the case has been adjourned until February 27, 2026. The national security case against jailed activist Joshua Wong has been postponed until March next year, as prosecutors seek to transfer the serious charge, which carries a potential life sentence, to the High Court. Wong, who's currently serving a sentence over the 2020 subversion case, appeared at the West Kowloon Magistrates Courts today for a second mention. Presiding National Security Judge and Chief Magistrate Victor So delayed the proceedings to handle the committal process that will determine if the case is elevated to the High Court. Wong faces 1 charge of conspiracy to collude with a foreign or external force to endanger national security. The charge alleges that, between July and November 2020, Wong conspired with self-exiled former lawmaker Nathan Law and others to request foreign nations or organizations to impose sanctions, blockades, or other hostile actions against Hong Kong or Beijing. Wong's current 4-year, 8-month sentence for conspiracy to commit subversion is due to finish in about 1.5 years. A conviction on this new charge, however, carries a maximum penalty of life imprisonment. He will remain in custody during the proceedings. The United Kingdom government has confirmed that Hong Kongers holding British National Overseas or BNO visas will retain the settlement pathway despite the recent immigration overhaul. But certain requirements will be tightened in a move to prioritize those who can contribute to the local economy and play by the rules. According to the UK Home Office, BNO visa holders will maintain their current arrangements. That is, after living in the UK for 5 years, they can apply for permanent residency, followed by British citizenship after an additional year. However, applicants must meet certain requirements. The English language proficiency standard will be raised from the current CEFR level B1 to level B2. Applicants must also have no criminal record, pass a citizenship test on British values, and demonstrate stable financial means. The government estimates that around 146,000 individuals will apply for permanent residency through this route in 2026 and 2027. In an attempt to explain her comments that angered Beijing, Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi said Tokyo's stance on Taiwan remains consistent. However, China maintained a firm position and urged Japan to take concrete actions by retracting Takaichi's wrongful remarks. Jimmy Liu reports.
Speaking at her official residence and making her first public response since she became embroiled in the Beijing-Tokyo spat over Taiwan, Takaichi made no mention of withdrawing her previous remarks, which suggested Japan may deploy its military in the event of a conflict in the Taiwan Strait. She said her government will make a comprehensive judgment on what counts as a survival-threatening situation for Japan, stressing that Japan's position on such security matters remains unchanged. Citing her meeting with President Xi Jinping last month, Takaichi added that her government intends to continue advancing a strategic and mutually beneficial relationship with China. However, in Beijing, Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning said if Japan genuinely wants to develop mutually beneficial relations with China, it should uphold its political promises made in the past. Mao again called on Takaichi to withdraw her wrongful remarks and show her commitments through concrete actions. The diplomatic field is taking a toll on other fronts, including travel. NHK reported that state-owned carrier Air China will reduce flights to Japan starting the end of this month, affecting the Shanghai, Osaka, and Chongqing, Tokyo routes until late March next year. Meanwhile, Reuters reported that about a dozen concerts with Japanese musicians in major Chinese cities have been abruptly cancelled this week. Jamie Liu, Cable News.
In Belém, Brazil, the venue of United Nations Climate Summit, or COP30, has reopened after a fire broke out earlier. The affected area, however, will remain closed for the rest of the conference. Several people suffered from smoke inhalation during the incident and required medical treatment. Jeremy Zhu reports.
Thick black smoke billowed from the intense blaze, which had already burned through the pavilion's canopy. Despite efforts from many using fire extinguishers, the flames showed no signs of abating. The fire started at around 2 p.m. local time as delegates were preparing for negotiations on measures to tackle climate change. The blaze erupted in the conference's Blue Zone, which houses pavilions for the various parties as well as offices for delegations and the media, bringing talks to an abrupt halt. Fire crews extinguished the flames in around 6 minutes and cordoned off the exhibition hall for safety checks, while thousands were evacuated to the outside. Several people were taken to hospital after inhaling smoke, though damage to the venue is reported to be not severe. The fire department, following a preliminary investigation, believes a microwave oven was the cause. Some media outlets reported that the fire originated in the summit's China pavilion. However, the Chinese delegation has denied and stated that its exhibition area was unaffected by the major fire. Jeremy Zhu, Cable News.
On to the weather now. Mainly fine. The minimum temperature tomorrow morning will be about 18 degrees. Dry during the day with a maximum temperature of around 24 degrees. And that's our news tonight. I'm Quentin Yang. Thank you for watching. Good night.